right, today we're going to talk about the basic economics of chartered public schools. Now, some of you may not be familiar with that, but 44 states, I think we're at 44 now, 44 states allow state and sometimes even local funding, public funding, of public schools that are not part of school districts. They're chartered independently, sometimes to have a specialized mission, doing something, not wanting to have necessarily all children come, but only those that want to have a particular kind of instructional approach. About half of chartered public schools try to be like regular public schools, or traditional public schools that children are assigned to, and that they're going to have a general curriculum that should reasonably fit most children. But about half of them have something like, I wanted to gifted and talented kids only, or only a sports-themed school. For those of you who saw my other video, that could be a chartered public school, for example, specializing in that. Now, one of the things that a chartered public school would struggle to do if they wanted to have a special theme, like a sports theme, in other words, teach reading through reading about sports, teach writing by writing about sports, teach math by doing calculations that have to do with sports. Okay, that's what a sports-themed school means. One of the things that a chartered public school would struggle with is that the law always specifies that they must enroll all children. They cannot be selective in their admissions. Okay, so some severe special ed parent could say, my regular school, my public school is not serving Johnny very well. You've got to take all kids. Here's Johnny. Okay, put Johnny in the school and serve him. Well, that shifts supply to the left, because now this charter's got to be able to not just be totally focused on the theme that they want to have. Any child that enrolls there, they got to provide services to them, even if the services that they intend to provide or specialize in are not going to work very well for that child. And it's obvious that they're not going to work very well. Still got to take them, still got to serve them, all of them. So the vertical difference here is the amount of difference in cost per child that being ready for anything, rather than just specialized in something and counseling out of kids that are not going to want to be in that particular theme. So let me write down here. Let's pretend we're talking about a chartered public school with that sports theme. Okay, so sports themed chartered public school, CPS, chartered public school. Okay, so the actual supply, S1, okay, is shift to the left, reduced supply compared to what the supply could be if chartered public schools could discriminate, but just according to their mission, right? Not by race, not by gender, not by anything other than, hey, this is the kind of instruction we're providing, and Johnny or Susie or Freddie or whatever, it doesn't look that's going to work for them, so so that's not allowed, so that's going to increase the firm's businesses, the chartered public schools costs. Okay, and then we have our standard demand line in there that says the more expensive it is, the less of it that's going to be desired. And if we just ran it as a private school, okay, if we just ran it as a private school, well then, if it was good enough to compete against something free, that'd be a small quantity demanded. Okay, so Q, let's call it 0, I guess. Okay, and they would have to charge this level of tuition per year. But it's not typically a private school. It's a chartered public school, so it's mandated to be free. And I know that my D's look kind of like zeros, especially since I'm riding downhill rather than the motor skill that it takes. I don't have to do that. This is the quantity demanded, right? Quantity demanded a price of 0 because it's free. Right? It's chartered public schools are not allowed to charge any tuition, okay? So they have to get all their money from the government payment per pupil per year. And actually many, possibly most, chartered public schools are donor dependent, in that the money that they get from the government isn't enough for them to stay in business for very long. And so they can only stay in business so they can find some additional dollars from charity, because they can't charge, so they can't get any money that way. All right, so at a price of 0, that's the quantity demanded given the surroundings of the school and how well the assigned public school is and what the private offerings are and what they cost. Those are all shifters of demand. Okay, but depending on, so given what the demand is, The line, okay, that's the quantity. Now, my dotted lines, first up to S1, the actual supply, given the mandate to the school to be ready for enrolling any child that wants to get in. Okay? And then over to the price per unit axis, dollars per year, okay, for the tuition. This price, let's just call it P prime, so that single quote, call it P prime. At that price, if that's the amount that the charter school can collect from the government, and maybe from donors combined, then no shortage. Okay? They will supply the amount demanded. Okay? Any price above that, they'll provide more than that. There'll be some empty seats at the school. Okay? Any price below that, and there'll be a shortage. The typical situation for a chartered public school, in some states, all schools have wait lists. Now, some don't in some states. But so the norm is for a piece of A, I'm just putting it on here somewhere below piece of P prime. The norm is for piece of A, the actual amount that the school is able to collect, the sports-themed chartered public school in this case, is below the amount that it would take to not have a shortage. Okay, so here's the quantity supplied at the price that they're actually able to collect per child. This